Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Dhanal Pranam. Today, reading from the book Light of Bhagavata by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Continuing, text 12. The mountains, although being struck by torrents of rain during the rainy season, are not shaken, just as those whose hearts are dedicated to the transcendental personality of Godhead are never disturbed, even when harassed by great misfortune. Because a person who is spiritually advanced accepts any adverse condition of life as a mercy of Lord, he is completely eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Even though a person takes to devotional service of the Supreme Lord, he may sometimes become diseased, impoverished, or become disappointed by life events. A true devotee of Lord always considers this suffering to be due to past sinful activities, and thus without becoming disturbed, he patiently awaits the mercy of Supreme Lord. Such devotees are compared to high mountains which are never agitated in any way, even when struck by powerful torrents of rain in the rainy season. Rather, such devotees remain humble in spiritual enlightenment. Free from pride and envy, they easily gain the mercy of Lord and go back home, back to Godhead. Text 13. In the rainy season, some of the roads are not frequently used and become covered with long grasses, and thus it becomes very difficult to see the Lord. Similarly, in this age, the transcendental scriptures are not properly studied by the Brahmanas. Being covered by the effects of time, the scriptures are practically lost and it becomes very difficult to understand or follow them. A covered road is exactly like a Brahmana who is not accustomed to studying and practicing the reformatory practice of Vedic injunctions. He becomes covered with a long grass of illusion, in that condition, forgetful of his constitutional nature. He forgets his position of eternal servitorship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By being deviated by the seasonal overgrowth of long grasses created by Maya, a person identifies himself with illusionary productions of nature and succumbs to illusion, forgetting his spiritual life. Text 14. The lightning becomes unsteady in its friendship, failing to remain faithfully in any one of the clouds. Although they are the friends of the entire world, just as a lusty woman do not remain steady even in the company of men who possess excellent qualities. During the rainy season, lightning appears in one group of clouds and then immediately in another group of clouds. This phenomena is compared to a lusty woman who do not fix her mind on one man. A cloud is compared to a qualified person because it pours rain and gives sustenance to many people. A man who is qualified similarly gives sustenance to many living creatures, such as family members or many workers in business. Unfortunately, his whole life can be disturbed by a wife who divorces him. When the husband is disturbed, the whole family is ruined. The children are dispersed or the business is closed and everything is affected. It is therefore recommended that a woman desiring to advance in Krishna consciousness peacefully live with a husband and that the couple should not separate under any condition. The husband and wife should control sex intelligence and concentrate their minds on Krishna consciousness so their life may be successful. After all, in the material world, a man requires a woman and a woman requires a man. When they are combined, they should live peacefully in Krishna consciousness and should not be restless like the lightning flashing from one group of cloud to another. Text 15. In the midst of thunder in the cloudy sky, there appears a rainbow that has no string. Its appearance is compared to the appearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead or His servant in the midst of the material atmosphere. The Sanskrit word guna means quality or mode as well as string or rope. When a rainbow appears during the rainy season, it is observed to be like a bow with no guna or string. Similarly, the appearance of the personality of Godhead or his transcendental servants has nothing to do with the qualitative modes of material nature. The phenomenal appearance of the transcendence is free from the qualities of material nature and it thus resembles a bow with no string. The transcendental Supreme Lord is eternally the form of transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. The material energy works under His goodwill, and therefore He is never affected by the modes of material nature. When He appears before us in the midst of material interaction, He remains always unaffected, like a stringless rainbow. By his inconceivable energy, the Supreme Lord can appear and disappear like a rainbow, which appears and disappears without being affected by roaring thunder and the cloudy sky. The Lord is eternally the biggest of the big and the smallest of the small. The living being who are his part and parcel are the smallest of the small, and he is the biggest of the big as the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Text 16. At the night, by the grace of moonlight, the clouds in the sky can be seen moving, yet the moon itself also appears to be moving, just as a living being appears to be moving because of false identification with matter. At night in the rainy season, the moving clouds reflecting the moonlight make the moon appear to be moving. This is called illusion. The spirit soul or the living being is the root of all the activities of material body. But because of illusion, the spirit soul remains covered by the gross and subtle material bodies. Thus covered, the conditioned soul identifies with the material body and becomes subject to the sense of false ego. This false ego obliges a living being to consider his material body to be his self, the offspring of the body to be his children, and the land of birth of the body to be an object of worship. Thus, the living being's conception of nationalism is another type of ignorance. Because of ignorance, a living being identifies himself with the land of his birth and moves with the misconception of national ideas. In fact, however, a living being does not belong to any nation or species of life. He has nothing to do with the body as the moon has nothing to do with the moving clouds. The moon is far away from the cloud and is fixed in its own orbit, but illusion presents a scene in which the moon appears to be moving. A living being should not float with the misconception of the temporary body. He must always know himself to be transcendental to the bodily identity. This is the path of knowledge, and complete knowledge fixes the living being in the orbit of spiritual activities. The spiritual living force is always active by nature. By illusion, his activities are wrongly directed in relation with the body. But in the liberation condition of complete knowledge, his activities are conducted in spiritual devotion. Liberation does not mean stopping activities, it does not mean purified of illusionary activities and becoming transcendental to religion with the gross and subtle body. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.